I had a really broken childhood. And so community for me has represented a lot of knowledge and wisdom and, okay, sis, we need to maybe say that a different way, maybe get this resource, read this book, do this differently. And I think ultimately it has made my life better in so many ways, even being a wife.
When we were talking about who we were and that we're called to be daughters of God before we're mothers. Yeah. Having that relationship with God, you're called to love Him. That is the call on your life. And I think all of us have to realize that no matter what age you are, if you have children, if you don't, if you're married, if you're not, when you answer that call,
come on.
You have everything.
You have everything you need.
Jesus plus nothing equals everything. Right?
I like that. You gotta have a little T-shirt happening there. I love that. When you like pose that question just about even like a practical thing in the waiting, it made me think about two friends I have that actually do not know each other, but the commonality that they share is that I think they have both decided not to fall into the pain comparison trap or the suffering comparison trap where we look at all of these different parts of other stories and then we create a pain narrative that because I don't have what she has, because our lives don't look different, that I am somehow subject to this pain. Yeah. And it's interesting because they have such similar stories. I was like processing through it, and they've both been on a fertility journey for a while, for about 5 to 8 years. And one of them, they were getting ready to go through IVF and go through the whole process. And she prayed and felt like the Lord said no. And over the next year, they adopted a little girl, and then a little boy came shortly. Wow. And they're just the cutest family ever. And I have this other friend who went through the same thing. They, were battling with fertility, and they adopted a cutie little girl. And 7 years later, they get pregnant. Yeah. By just this.
I've heard that story
so
many times.
They just had a little boy. And it's interesting because what I see in the both of them, though, is that they've decided to not sit with apathy, but with just rejoice in their stories and not to look in their left or right. And I know them both intimately. And it is true that the both of them, while two very different outcomes, went through this season of longing, but they went through it looking straight and not on their side. Okay, they're doing this, they're doing this. No, I have nothing to compare here. My story is divinely designed by God. There's nothing to compare here,
That's good.
And I think that's one of the things that could be really helpful to some women out there.
Also, what comes out of that to me is you see that in the Bible when Hannah, there are multiple women who dealt with barrenness.
Rebecca, Sarah, gosh, we can really name them.
But when they aligned their desire with God's need and desire for a vessel, they got what they needed and he got what he needed. Yeah. And it's like when adopting a child, I've seen that. I mean, Mary and Martha, two of my best friends, they're twins, and their mother dealt with infertility, adopted a daughter, Marveline, and got pregnant when that baby she just got that baby, got pregnant with twins, Mary and Martha. And I've seen that happen so many times. It's like when God has a need, there may be a child, he's saying, I need to get into a household. Yes. And when you open your heart to going, what is God asking of me right now? Yeah, what's God's desire?
Yes. Well, even going back to the story of Ruth and Naomi, don't you know Ruth was grieving in her own right?
Also, yes.
So Naomi had lost her husband and her sons, but Ruth had lost her husband. And out of her pain, she took and she said, I'm going to go with Naomi. She could have grieved. She could have done her own thing. She could have let it be about her, but she decided to move forward into the future. And that's the way God is always moving forward. And his design is always better than the way we think it could have been.
That's right.
That's the way he does things.
I love that God is always moving forward. And like you said, so she sold. She sold.
Yes.
That's the perfect story of Naomi and Ruth. She sold. Yes. She instead of just focusing on herself, she decided, hey, I'm gonna hang in here with you.
Yeah. And how that threads itself all the way down through Jesus.
Jesus, come on.
Woo! I love it so much. But that's the power of community. I mean, that just to circle right on back here. It's the power of relationships.
And I think every time God's ever elevated my life, and many people I've witnessed, he does it with a relationship. You're one new
surely right.
relationship away, or maybe a restored relationship away from a next level. And we can't do life without other people. And if we don't have friends, I always say, go be the best friend you can. You know, look to people and say, what is it they need? I see that they may not have enough time to be able to do this. What can I do for them? How can I serve? And you make yourself invaluable to other people. And it's a beautiful thing to learn. I didn't have sisters. I learned it from my mother.
Same.
But But I love having spiritual sisters.
Nothing like it.
The older I get, I realize that more and more how much I need people.
Yeah.
You know, I think when I was younger and in the thick of things and pastoring and doing all those things, it was hard to have time. But the older I get, I see how much more I need people than I ever realized that I did, and how doing life with other people makes it so much more enjoyable, and to get through the hard times.
Get through the hard times. Yeah. And because you're always being built up. I always leave out on a higher level. Like today, after leaving you girls, I'm gonna be on a high,
I know.
total high.
I'm gonna be prophesying to people. I'm about to go make it real. I'm about to start a whole ministry.
But I remember the old mothers growing up in church, the old mothers praying over me and speaking life. And yes, they rebuked you and they correct you. That's part of lifting you up too.
Maybe a little condemnation.
But you needed it. You became, we're always better. After being in relationship and being in community. That's the way God made it. So you don't have to whatever you're going through, don't go through it alone.
No, because deep relationship, godly relationship, it divides our sorrow and it multiplies our joys. And we have
say that one more time.
Amie is hurting me today. Oh my gosh.
It divides. No, what'd you say?
It divides our sorrows.
And it multiplies our joy.
Carry each other.
Yes.
Don't even.
Makes life so worth living.
But that's and that's surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh yes.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
But let's be honest here.
The opposite. If you're around the wrong people, that saying's the opposite.
That's right.
Multiplies your sorrows.
Multipliers.
Yeah, that's true.
In parenting, especially for the fact that I wasn't really parented. I had a really broken childhood. And so community for me has represented a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And okay, sis, we need to maybe say that a different way. Maybe get this resource, read this book, do this differently. And I think ultimately it has made my life better in so many ways, even being a wife.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload.
And don't forget to check out our Better Together shop. Thanks for being a part of our community.